Hello there, everybody. It's been a while since I've made a video like this, but this is just going to be some finals gameplay in the background. Um, and I'm just going to kind of talk about stuff that's been on my mind. More specifically, I'm going to be talking sort of about figuring out what's important to you and like how I've been approaching this and like kind of reshaping my thinking. Um, what do I mean by like figuring out what's important to me? And to you in general. What I mean is sort of like we sit down and we just kind of go on in our lives, sort of day to day, just trying to do what we can to get to the next day, right? Maybe we have some overarching goals, some bigger things that we want to do in the future, but I think at a certain point for a lot of people, it hits this point where you sit down and you're like, man, what really is important to me? And I think with my whole medication and depression fueled stint of a couple years, I've sort of really started to understand what is important to me, and the relationships in which I have are the most important things to me. And obviously, one of the most important relationships that I had was my ex-girlfriend, and that's why I've been spending so much effort and time trying to, essentially get her back. If there's anything to be salvaged there, I want to salvage it. It's always been like that. But it just kind of reinforces this line of thinking as to, like, in my life, what is the most important things to me. And I think it's the relationships that I harbor with my friends, relationship that I had with my girlfriend, things like that. And it makes everything else seem so meaningless in comparison. Everything is just kind of a means to an end, right? Like, we work to get the money in order to live, but what does that really do for us in the bigger picture? And I think for a lot of the time while I was depressed and on the medication, I basically was on survival mode, and I was just kind of getting through every day hoping that the next day might be a little bit better. Not knowing that I was like kneecapping myself because I was taking the medication, and the medication was like 90% of my problem. But it's interesting to think about that because the way I look at things now compared to how I looked at them 6 months ago, even. Well, maybe not 6 months ago. I mean, yeah, 6 months ago is still long enough for me to, because 6 months ago I would have been just like getting off the medication and still trying to like talk to my ex-girlfriend and try to get her to talk to me. So like the way that I've sort of looked at things in my life and sort of, you know, I guess sorted them by like what is actually important to me and what am I doing just to try to like push down other things that may or may not be like things that I care about, things that maybe I just do in order to pass time. Um, I think a lot of growth has happened for me personally over this last like year. This last year for sure, but last 2 years for sure as well. Just because I think I've learned a lot about myself and how I react to well, one, the medication that I was taking, two, just like very stressful situations. And I think figuring out what is important to me has given me a big goal in my life, right? Like, for me right now, my number one primary goal is like talking to my ex-girlfriend and like trying to communicate with her and trying to fix things essentially. Like, by and far away, this is like my most important thing, my top priority. That is not to say that I don't have other important things to me that I also found out, but like this is like the number one thing, right? And I was gonna say it should be my number one, but I mean, everybody has their own opinions on everything, right? And I think that's fair. But I think, in my opinion, I think your companion should probably be almost always your number one priority. That is not to say that priorities cannot shift, especially temporarily, because life happens and situations happen. But yeah. But as far as my priorities go, like, my number one is trying to make things right with my ex. I want to get back with her. She's known this since the beginning. And here's to hoping that it will happen. I mean, it should bar without question, but I mean, I love her to death. I want to marry her still to this day. I hold no ill will towards her. I understand she did what she needed to do. My second important thing is my relationships with my friends. I have been horrible to my friends over the last 2-year period as well, or 2.5, 3-year period, whatever. Especially when I was depressed and on the medication. I quite literally did not talk to anyone except my girlfriend at that time. And even when I did talk to my girlfriend, I wasn't always the most brightest bulb to speak to. And I'm forever in her debt for putting up with me in the state that I was in. But it made me realize that, like, the relationships you form with other people that you truly call your friends, like, they matter so much. And at least to me, they matter so much. And this is what I mean. Like, it's the importance of things to you, right? Everybody is going to have their own personal important thing. But this is just my experience. I just want to make that clear. But these people, I've neglected them and honestly have not been very good to them. And they still welcome me back with open arms. They listen to me cry. They give me advice about my girlfriend or my ex-girlfriend. And they have no reason to do this. They have no reason to be there, you know? They're just so... I feel so bad for neglecting them, and that's like my top priorities. You know what I mean? These are the things that are important to me. These are the things that I want to better handle, I guess, going forward. Like, my dream scenario, I mean, I get back with my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend. I mean, we move in together. We live the life that we always should. I keep up with my friends. I never neglect them again. I make sure they understand how much they mean to me. I keep up with my YouTube channel. I mean, number 3, I guess, is my YouTube channel, for obvious reasons. But I've been putting in a lot less effort lately, mostly due to my mental state and, like, my inability to focus on anything other than my ex-girlfriend. But my YouTube channel is obviously very important to me. I want to put in the right amount of effort into this channel as well. Because, I mean, you guys deserve content that's worth watching. And, I mean, obviously you are in control of what you watch. But I want to make things that are more than just, you know, run-of-the-mill trash, I guess. I mean, there's a time and a place for slop. But I feel like I am not even making slop anymore. I'm like, I'm alive, but I don't feel like I'm alive, if that makes sense, in a way. I'm in a state of basically just limbo, where I'm waiting for my ex-girlfriend to decide whether she wants to give us another try or not. And it's... honestly, the fact that I'm in this position is way better than what I had initially thought I would have gotten. Like, she wouldn't even talk to me at first, and now look at us now. Like, she's openly saying she's not sure, she doesn't know, she needs to think, etc., etc. And it's like, you can be a cynical person and say, like, oh, it just means no, she's not, you know, just move on. It's not about what's best for me sometimes in the current moment. Because I think what's best for me is us long-term. And if that means temporary unhappiness and sadness, I mean, it's just a price to pay, right? Because life isn't always going to be ups. There's going to be downs in life. You need to be prepared to handle the downs. Especially when the downs involve another person. You can't just abandon people. And that's not something that I'm ever going to do. I will never abandon her. And I want to make it apparent because I truly believe she's the love of my life. That being said, though, those are like my ideals. Those are like my ideal sort of like life scenario that I would have going on. I'd get back together with my ex-girlfriend. We would move in together. I would be able to continue focusing on my friends and not neglect them. I would also be able to put in more effort and focus on my YouTube channel like I once did, and want to continue on that trajectory. Because overall, I think things that are important to you, maybe you won't have like a revelation quite the same way that I did, but I think to some degree everyone has this like revelation or this like moment in their life where they're like, holy shit, what have I been doing? Like, I've not been good to like people, or I've not been good to like self, or I've been focusing on things that I really shouldn't have been focusing on. And I mean, there's no right or wrong answer as to what you should focus on. It's just all up to you, right? But I think having a sense of purpose and having a sense of like, I'm doing this because it's what I want and it's what I know will make me happy in the future is important. And things like my ex-girlfriend, getting back with her, I mean, that is my future. She has always been my future. My friends, nurturing those relationships and making sure I don't neglect them. This is important. They're my future as well. Well, they're not my future in the sense of with my ex-girlfriend, but they're the future in that, like, they're important to me, and I can't let myself do what I did to them before. Just like I can't let myself do what I did to my ex-girlfriend before. Like, the medication. It all comes back to the medication, man. Really, at the end of the day, all I can say is if you're ever fucking around with antidepressants, be very, very, very careful. I think I'm going to end the video here. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys all in the next one. Bye.